Something is happening right now in crypto that most people are completely sleeping on, and by the time this becomes mainstream news, the window will already be closed. We are sitting at a very specific intersection of macro momentum, institutional money, AI-driven price modeling, and a presale that checks every single box that made early investors in Dogecoin and Shiba Inu generational wealth. So stay with me, because what I am about to break down is not hype. This is pattern recognition backed by on-chain data, institutional filings, and market structure that serious money watches very closely. Let's start with the big picture, because context is everything in this market. XRP is sitting at $1.48 right now on Coinbase. That is not a small number. That is a large cap asset that has already survived regulatory warfare, multiple bear markets, and years of uncertainty around whether Ripple would even exist as a company. And it came out the other side stronger than almost anyone expected. The Clarity Act, clearing the Senate Banking Committee on May 14th, was not a minor procedural update. That was the United States government beginning to build the legal foundation that institutional capital has been waiting on before going all in on crypto. Spot ETF inflows for XRP have already crossed $1.32 billion in total. Let that sit for a second. $1.33 billion flowing into regulated XRP exposure. That is pension funds. That is asset managers. That is the kind of money that does not move fast, but when it moves, it does not stop. So what does the smartest AI model on the planet say about where XRP goes from here? ChatGPT built out a full price prediction framework for XRP through 2027 tied directly to Bitcoin's market cycle. The bear case lands between $2.50 and $4. The base case sits at $5, and the bull case hits $10, but only if ETF inflows cross the $5 billion threshold. Now, $10 from $1.48 is roughly a 7x return. For a large cap asset, that is actually an extraordinary move. Most blue chip stocks would need a decade to deliver that. But here's where it gets interesting, because ChatGPT is not the only institution running these models. Bitwise, one of the most respected names in crypto asset management, has published a range that makes ChatGPT's bull case look conservative. Bitwise puts XRP at $4.94 for 2026, and in their best case scenario, $29.32 by 2030. Standard Chartered, a global banking giant that has been aggressively covering crypto markets, sets their XRP target at $7. And Canary Capital has already launched an XRP ETF that pulls the token directly into the portfolio allocation framework of major investment funds, something that did not exist in any previous cycle. This is structural. This is not retail speculation driving XRP. This is institutional infrastructure being built around it in real time. But here's the question that every serious investor has to ask when they see these numbers. If the best case for one of the top 10 crypto assets in the world is a 7x over the next 2 to 3 years, where does the real asymmetric return come from in this cycle? Because 7x on a billion-dollar position is life-changing money. But 7x is not what created Dogecoin millionaires. It is not what turned a $1,000 bet on Shiba Inu into a life-changing event. The math that creates those outcomes only exists in one place, and that is before listing, when the asset is still in pre-sale and the market has not priced in the upside yet. That brings us to Pepeto. I want to be precise here because there is a lot of noise in the presale space, and most of it deserves exactly the skepticism people give it. But Pepeto is not operating in that space. Let me walk you through what is actually being built here and why the wallets that understand on-chain dynamics are paying close attention. The raise has already crossed $10.08 million. Search volume is climbing across dozens of countries simultaneously, and the Binance listing talks are not rumor at this stage. Sources close to the project have confirmed the deal is already secured behind the scenes. Now I want you to think about what a Binance listing during a forming bull run actually means historically, because the data here is undeniable. Tokens that hit Binance at the right moment in a cycle have posted 30x to 50x returns on day one, not over months, on day one. That is the exchange effect combined with cycle momentum, and Pepeto is entering that window right now. But here is what separates this from every other meme-adjacent project that has tried to ride that energy. Pepeto runs a zero-fee exchange with AI-powered contract screening across Ethereum, BNB Chain, and Solana. That is not a white paper promise. That is infrastructure. And the mechanic built into that exchange is what the sharpest on-chain analysts are focusing on, because every single trade executed on that exchange after launch feeds buying pressure directly back to the token. That is a self-reinforcing demand loop built directly into the product architecture. Every user, every trade, every transaction becomes a buy order. You do not need to understand advanced tokenomics to understand what that does to price over time. The team is not anonymous. The co-founder of the Pepe ecosystem, whose original token crossed $7 billion in market cap, is leading this project. Solid Proof completed a full audit before the presale opened, and there is a former Binance developer on the team who knows exactly how the listing process works, which is not a coincidence, it is infrastructure. Now let's talk about the Dogecoin comparison, because I know some people hear that and immediately get skeptical, and I want to address that head on. Doge produced some of the most dramatic wealth creation events in crypto history, with absolutely nothing behind it. No product, no utility, no exchange, no cross-chain bridge, no AI scanner, just community, memes, and Elon Musk tweeting. And when that combination hit during a bull cycle, it created millionaires out of people who put in money they almost did not bother risking. Pepeto carries that same community energy. Elon Musk's name spreading across X, Telegram, and Reddit keeps the attention loop expanding every day. The Pepe brand recognition is already global and battle-tested, but on top of that foundation, there is an actual working product that generates protocol revenue and feeds it back into token demand. When you compare that to Doge's run, which happened when the total crypto market was a fraction of what it is today, the math becomes almost uncomfortable to look at directly. Doge and SHIB created their outcomes in a smaller market, with weaker infrastructure and zero utility. Pepeto is entering a market that is structurally larger, institutionally supported, and moving into a bull cycle with regulatory clarity forming in real time. Delivering less than what zero utility tokens produced in a smaller market is, by any reasonable analysis, almost impossible if the community and listing momentum hold. And the community momentum is not slowing, it is accelerating. Rounds are selling out ahead of schedule. The pace of new capital entering the presale is rising, not flattening. And every day that passes without the Binance listing being announced is a day that still belongs to the people watching this closely. Because the window between presale price and Binance listing day is where the largest multiple forms. Once that listing goes live, the on-chain data shifts entirely. The early holders carry the position, the late money chases the chart. And the gap between those two groups is the entire story of every major crypto cycle that has ever happened. Here's the macro layer that ties all of this together. The total crypto market in 2026 is heading toward levels that no previous cycle has ever reached. Institutional access through ETFs, regulatory frameworks being built in real time, and Bitcoin cycle dynamics all point in the same direction. XRP going from $1.48 to $10 through ChatGPT's bull case framework is a legitimate outcome in that environment. Bitwise putting XRP at nearly $30 by 2030 in their best case is not fantasy. Standard Chartered targeting $7 is not aggressive by the standards of what this market is capable of doing. But none of those numbers capture what the presale stage offers to the people positioned correctly right now. The biggest wallets in crypto never stake everything on a single large cap position. They hold their core assets and they allocate a portion of capital to the presale with the highest asymmetric upside. That strategy is not new. It is how serious money has operated in every cycle. XRP gives you institutional exposure. Pepeto gives you the multiplier. The comparison that keeps surfacing in every serious crypto research channel right now is this. Watching XRP work toward $10 over the next 2 years through ChatGPT's model is a sound strategy. Watching Pepeto go from presale to Binance listing in this market environment is a completely different timeline and a completely different return profile. Both can be true simultaneously. Both probably are. What the on-chain data, the search volume growth, the $10 million raise, the Binance timeline, and the macro backdrop are all pointing toward is a very specific moment that is forming right now. The rounds are filling, the listing is coming. And every cycle in crypto history has produced the same outcome for the people who understood what was happening before it became obvious to everyone else. The question was never whether the money would be made. The question has always been who holds when it happens.